Hi dear students, this is Dr.Keshari Shukla and today in the succession of the videos on W.B.Yeats, today I am going to discuss one of the most important poem just composed by W.B.Yeats. Yes, dear students, this is Leda and Swan. Students, Leda and Swan is a mythical poem, a symbolical poem and mystical poem as W.B.Yeats has habit to write. Students, actually, this poem is a sonnet, and the form of sonnet what W.B. Yeats has adapted here, it is Petrarchan form of sonnet, which is divided into two parts, octave and sestet, as you have already acquainted about that the first 8 lines of a sonnet is called octave, and the remaining 6 lines are called sestet. This is a sonnet written by W.B. Yeats. Now, dear students, let me tell you that it was first published in 1923. Students, now the major thing what generally I used to tell when I teach the poem that how W.B. Yeats just got its inspiration to just compose this sonnet, this lyric. The students, once in a British Museum, W.B. Yeats was there, and in that British Museum, he saw a portrait, and this was the portrait just painted by Michelangelo, the Italian painter, great painter. And students, in that painting, it was shown that there is an intercourse which is going on, means a scene of sex was there, and it was the sex between a swan and a beautiful lady, and the swan was King Zeus, and the lady was it was Leda. Yes, Leda, who is a mythical character actually belonging to Greek myth. She was the daughter of Theseus, a Greek legend. Generally, you encounter in several creations the character of Theseus, a Greek legend, and he has a daughter, Leda. So, this is the poem which has its basic origin from Greek myth, and he was inspired by the portrayal just painted by Michelangelo. Yes, students. Students, now we are going to start the poem, but before starting the poem, I would like to just introduce you about its beginning and background. Students, according to myth, according to Greek myth, once Leda was bathing in Eurotas river. There was a river, Eurotas river, and in that river, Leda was bathing and she was totally naked. So beautiful she was, and on that beauty she was naked. So on that very time, God Zeus was just flying in the sky. He was just passing from there. He was just going somewhere, and he saw Leda, the beautiful girl, in naked form, and a kind of lust, a kind of sexual feeling, a feel of sex just came in the mind of God Zeus, and he decided to just make sex relationship intercourse with Leda, and that's why he has took the form of a swan. And when he took the form of swan, in the form of swan, he attacked on Leda for the sex, for intercourse. And what has happened after that? So from this point, the poem is started. Now, we are requesting you, dear students, to open your textbook. Open this poem and just study with me. I am going to just deal with this poem. Okay, start. A sudden blow, the great winged beating is still. All of sudden, swan in the form of, it was actually Zeus, the god Zeus, who was the leader of gods. So he attacked a sudden blow. All of sudden, he just attacked on Leda, who was naked, bathing. The great winged beating is still above the staggering girl. And when the girl found herself in the grip of this powerful creature, swan, who was actually Zeus, so she was staggering, she was trembling, she was struggling in the grip, in the clutches of that particular special creature in the form of bird. Zeus he was. Her thighs seized, and this creature Swan had just tightened the thighs of Leda for the sex, for the intercourse by the power. And not only he has applied the power, but he has also just excited Leda for the sex. And for the sex, Leda came in the impression of excitement. By the dark webs, her nape caught in his bill, and now Swan just put his powerful paws and clutches and grip on the body of Leda, and this swan has also just catch the neck of Leda in his beak. Now Leda found herself totally helpless in the grip of this special creature. He holds her helpless breast upon his breast. Now this creature, this swan, just put his breast on the bosom of Leda for the sex, means it was the highest peak point of the sexual just excitement, you can say. Now it was nothing in the hand of Leda. How can those terrified wakes finger push see feathered glory from her loosening thighs? Now it was difficult time for Leda. She could not made herself away from the clutches, from the grip of this very special creature Zeus in the form of swan. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it's a matter of controversy, that Leda could not do anything. She found herself totally helpless in the grip and clutch of Zeus, and by the force of power it may be given by Swan, the Zeus, and it may be the sexual excitement which was just created even in the body, in the sexual part of in the private parts of Leda also a kind of sexual feel was there. In the impression of that sexual feel, she had just given loose her thighs, means she just surrendered herself for the sex before Swan. And how can body lead in that wild rush but feel the stag heat beating, heart beating where it lies? And students, now Leda has left herself for the sex, means she has surrendered, she had allowed herself Zeus before Zeus for the sex, and she could do nothing. But during the sex work, she was just only enjoying the sex and also listening the heartbeats of Swan. And what was the result of this sex? Means ultimately, Leda was allowed Zeus for the sex. She could do nothing, and she was only enjoying the sex. And what has happened? What was the result of this kind of intercourse, powerful sex, which was created a kind of sexual excitement in both? And what was the result of that? Now, in the next passage, is shudder in the loin just injured there. Now, W.B.Yeats says that when in the extent of sex, on the last peak point of sex, all of a sudden, Leda just felt a kind of trembling, a kind of shudder, a jolt. She felt in her womb, and she got herself pregnant. She became pregnant. And what was the result of this pregnancy? She begot 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. The name of sons were Castor, Pollux, and the daughter, yes, daughter, most important character. The daughter was Helen, and Helen, you know that Helen is the major cause of the war of Troy. Yes, students, this is the same Helen which is considered as the most beautiful girl of the world, most beautiful lady of the world. As I have told you during the description of Dr. Faustus, in the end when Dr. Faustus found the lady on the special request, when the special request was just done by Dr. Faustus, the representatives of certain Beelzebub Mephistopheles has presented Helen before him, and then this very when Dr. Faustus has told, was this the face that launched 1,000 ships and burned the topless tower of Ilium? Students, I have just introduced these lines before you only to show that this was the Helen which was the prime cause of the war of Troy. And if you want to just study the detail of the Troy and how what was the impression of Troy, how it was fought in the leadership of Agamemnon, you are better to just study Homer's great epic Iliad. Yes, Homer was a classical epic poet of Greece, and his great classical epic was Iliad. Okay, students, let me proceed. Now, what has happened? Actually, when Helen became young, when she became young, so her marriage was fixed with Menelaus. Menelaus was the king of Sparta. It was a state of Greece. Yes, king of Sparta. Menelaus was just uh, means he it was fixed that Menelaus will marry Helen. He was the king of Sparta, a place of Greece, important place of Greece, important state of Greece. But unfortunately, Helen was just eloped. She was eloped with Prince Paris. Yes, Prince Paris. He was the prince of Troy. His name was Paris, and with him Helen eloped. And now this was the prestigious matter. This was the matter of the prestige of Greece and Sparta. Now all the states of Greece, in collaboration and in association, just decided to attack on Troy, and in the headship, in the leadership of Agamemnon, the great warrior, the great legend. You will encounter his glory of war in Iliad if you will study. In the leadership of Agamemnon, the Troy was destroyed. And not only Troy was destroyed, but Helen was re-arrived there in Greece, because means this war, the war of Troy, was the matter of prestige for Greece, and he was Prince was defeated. Prince Paris was defeated by Greece army in the leadership of Agamemnon, and when he just returned, so he was also killed by his wife with the help of his wife's boyfriend, lover. Students, but in the war of Troy, a lot of murder, killing, bloodshed means, as it was said in Dr. Foster, burn the topless tower of Ilium, launched thousand ships. Means it was heavy disaster in that battle. So that description is just introduced here in this poem by W.B.Yeats. The broken wall, the burning roof, and tower, and Agamemnon dead. The very same kind of feel is just given by W.B.Yeats here, as I have told you, students, that a lot of disaster was done. The walls were just broken, the buildings were just destroyed, and in the when Agamemnon returned his home, he was also murdered. Students, now in the last part of this poem, being so caught up, so mastered by the brute blood of the air. Now, W.B. Yeats is telling that when what has happened when Leda was in the clutches of Swan, in the clutches of Zeus, in the grip of Zeus, there is a question. The question is this: did she put on his knowledge with his power? This is a question. That before being free from the grip, from the sexual grip of Swan, was Leda was in position to just take knowledge also along with the power. Means the power what was applied by Zeus on the body of Leda. She has only just received that power, or she has received the knowledge also? This is the question. And before the indifferent bee could let her drop, before being pregnant, what she just captured the knowledge also, just got the knowledge also. with the power? This is a question. Perhaps not, because generally knowledge and power doesn't associate in itself together. So this is the poem, mythical poem, W.B. Yeats has written. And students, although its inspiration is there from the Greece and also from the Italian painters painting, but actually the kind of symbol what W.B. Yeats has used here, that is Vedantic symbol. That is the symbol from our Vedas, Upanishads. As I have already told you in earlier videos, that W.B. Yeats was fond of Indian philosophy of Vedas, the philosophy of mysticism just employed by Indian philosophers in Indian classics. The concept of Atma and Paramatma. Dear students, this is the concern of Vedantic philosophy, that there is a single lady in the world, that is Prakriti, that you call Maya, and single Purus is there, that is Jivatma. So in the association of Jivatma and Paramatma, so here students, Jivatma is Zeus in the form of swan, and here Maya, the single lady, as in Indian philosophy, it is none other but Leda. And the association of Jivatma and Maya, you have got the birth of generation in the form of Helen. This is actually the symbol of generation. Helen is the symbol of generation, means the fruit of the association, the fruit of the in communion of Leda, the Maya, and also Atma, Jivatma in the form of Zeus, in the form of swan. And this Atma is the part of Paramatma, means this soul is the part of super soul. And dear students, let me introduce you about a special concept, that this poem is somewhere concerning about the beginning of the generation on this earth. As in second coming, he has just introduced that the Christianity, according to Christian belief, Christianity is on the last phase and it is time for the new generation. As this is the belief of W.B. Yeats, that one is replaced by another. When one civilization, one identity just lords itself, the another take its place. And one is replaced by another. This is the law of nature. So there he introduced that so much anarchy, exploitation and corruption is there in the society. Now it's time to take reincarnation of Jesus Christ. In the second coming, he has introduced you, and he will just establish again a new civilization, new kind of culture there, a new establishment of the world. So it was the final phase in the second coming, and this poem, Leda and Swan, is just concerning about the initial phase, the starting of the generation. Yes, students, the symbol what I have just discussed in this poem, I have just introduced you, dear students. This is an excellent sonnet. Again, I am just telling you, nice kind of myth. He has used a mythical poem and a mystical approach, what I have introduced about of Atma and Paramatma. The mystical approach is also there, and also Vedantic symbol has been employed here, as I have told you, dear students. A nice kind of imagery he has just produced before us, a kind of nice feeling and imagery from the perspective of feeling and imagery. This is nice poem. Sometimes during the description, during the marvelous and nice description, somewhere W.B. Yeats is vulgar in this poem, and some critics says that this is the mentality, this is the mental standard of W.B. Yeats he has just given in this poem. But later on, W.B. Yeats has condemned that actually not this is the matter of vulgarity, but it has some hidden meaning behind it. It is a mystical poem, this symbolical poem, and some symbol is behind it. So don't go in the surface meaning of this poem. The students, in this video I have tried my best to just make you well understand about this poem, Leda and Swan. With this remark, I would like to thank you dear student, thank you very much.